Welcome to the Running Library. Today we're breaking down The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and by Mark Manson. Let's start with the strongest idea first. You're told to be positive, to visualize success, to want it badly enough. Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck argues that this obsession with constant positivity doesn't make you better. It often makes you weaker. Not because optimism is bad, but because pretending everything is fine trains you to avoid the one thing that actually changes your life. Facing what's painful, what's true, and what matters. This isn't a book about becoming careless. It's about becoming selective. You only have so many fucks to give. Spend them on the right problems. Here's the core idea. Your life is defined by what you're willing to struggle for. Most self-help tries to sell you a life without problems. Manson says that's a lie. The question isn't, how do I get rid of problems? The question is, which problems do I want? Because every meaningful goal comes with a set of problems attached. Want a great relationship? You'll have to deal with uncomfortable conversations, conflict, and your own insecurities. Want a successful career? You'll have to deal with rejection, uncertainty, long stretches of boredom, and the possibility of failing publicly. Want to be healthy? You'll have to deal with discipline, discomfort, and saying no to yourself. If you choose the struggle you're willing to endure, you choose the life you get. That leads to Manson's first major move. Stop trying to feel good all the time. He calls it the feedback loop from hell. It goes like this. You feel bad, so you feel bad about feeling bad. And now you're trapped in a spiral. Anxiety about anxiety, depression about depression, anger about anger. The culture of constant positivity makes this worse. It implies that negative emotions are failures. But negative emotions are normal signals. They're information. Feeling guilty might mean you violated your own values. Feeling anxious might mean you're uncertain and need clarity. Feeling lonely might mean you need connection. The goal isn't to eliminate negative feelings. The goal is to stop treating them like something has gone wrong with you. Manson's approach is to accept that life involves pain and then get strategic about it. Because once you accept pain as part of the deal, you can stop wasting energy resisting it and start using it. Next, you are not special. This sounds harsh, but it's meant as relief. A lot of modern motivation is built on a subtle promise. You're destined for greatness. You're extraordinary. You can have it all. Manson argues that this creates entitlement, not entitlement like being spoiled, but the feeling that you deserve a life without discomfort, without failure, without ordinary limitations. And when reality shows up, as it always does, entitlement turns into resentment. The truth is, you're probably average in most things. So am I. That's not an insult. It's math. And accepting that can free you. Because if you're not special, you don't have to constantly prove you're special. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to be impressive to be worthy. You can focus on what matters, not what looks good. Then Manson introduces a powerful distinction. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you take responsibility for. He draws a line between fault and responsibility. Something can be not your fault and still be your responsibility. Maybe you didn't create your trauma, but healing is still your responsibility. Maybe you didn't cause the mess at work, but if you're the one who can fix it, it becomes your responsibility. Maybe you didn't choose your emotions, but you can choose what you do next. This isn't about blame. It's about power. If you wait for someone else to solve what hurts you, you hand your life over to them. If you accept responsibility, you regain agency. And Manson is blunt about what responsibility requires. It requires choosing. You can't drift into a meaningful life. You have to decide what matters. And deciding what matters means deciding what doesn't. That's what not giving a fuck really means, refusing to be manipulated by everything. So, how do you choose what to care about? The book argues for values-based living, not goals. Values. Goals are outcomes. Get the promotion. Write the book. Find the relationship. Values are directions. Be honest. Do the work. Show up. Learn. Goals can be achieved, and then you're done. And you need a new goal. Values can be practiced forever, and the wrong values will wreck you. If your value is always be comfortable, you'll avoid anything that forces growth. If your value is always be liked, you'll become a shapeshifter. If your value is always look successful, you'll start living for appearances. Manson pushes for values that are internal and controllable. Honesty over image. Effort over outcome. Curiosity over certainty. Responsibility over blame. Because when your values are within your control, your self-worth becomes stable. Another major theme, the more you chase happiness, the more it slips away. Manson points out a paradox. The desire for a positive experience is itself a negative experience. If you constantly need to feel happy, then any moment you're not happy becomes evidence that you're failing. But accepting negative experience is itself a positive experience. If you can say, "This is hard, and that's okay," you stop fighting reality. This isn't surrender, it's alignment. Now the book also takes aim at certainty. We love being right. We build identities around opinions. We defend our beliefs like they're family. Manson argues that certainty is often emotional, not intellectual. It's a way to avoid doubt, but growth requires doubt. If you're never wrong, you never update. If you never feel uncertain, you never explore. So he recommends a habit. Seek disconfirmation. Look for what would prove you wrong. Ask, "What am I missing?" Ask, "If I were wrong, what would that look like?" Not to become indecisive, but to become less fragile. Then there's the topic of failure. Manson reframes failure as the path. Most people think success first, confidence later. But it's usually the opposite. Action first, failure second, learning third, and then confidence. If you avoid failure, you avoid feedback. If you avoid feedback, you stagnate. So the question becomes, what are you willing to be bad at? Because you can't become good at anything without being bad at it first. Now let's talk about relationships. Manson argues that healthy relationships require boundaries and honest communication. If you're always sacrificing your needs to keep someone happy, you're not being kind. You're being dishonest. You're trading truth for approval. And that debt gets collected later as resentment. He also emphasizes ownership of emotions. If you say, "You made me feel this," you're handing someone else control. A better frame is, "I feel this, and here's what I need." It's not about being cold, it's about being clear. Another hard chapter is about death. Manson uses mortality as a filter. If you remember that your time is limited, a lot of noise loses its power. The argument isn't to become morbid, it's to become precise. What would you do if you stopped trying to impress people who won't be at your funeral? What would you choose if you stopped assuming you had unlimited time? Death clarifies. So what does the book ultimately ask you to do? It asks you to choose your values, choose your struggles, and accept responsibility. Not because it guarantees happiness, but because it creates meaning. And meaning is sturdier than happiness. Happiness is a mood. Meaning is a commitment. When you commit to something you believe is worth the pain, you become resilient. You stop needing life to be easy in order to be okay. Here are a few takeaways you can apply immediately. 1. Audit your fucks. Write down the things that have been draining you lately. Arguments, news cycles, social comparison, the need to be right, the need to be liked. Then ask, does this actually matter in 5 years? If not, why am I paying for it with my attention? 2. Choose better values. Pick one value that's within your control, like honesty, consistency, learning, or courage. Then define what it looks like in behavior, not feelings. Not, "I value confidence," but "I value showing up even when I'm nervous." 3. Separate fault from responsibility. Stop waiting for the perfect explanation of why things happened. Ask, what can I do next? That question is where power lives. 4. Let negative emotions do their job. Instead of panicking when you feel bad, treat it like a dashboard light. What is it pointing to? What needs attention? 5. Pick the struggle. Don't ask, "What do I want?" Ask, "What pain am I willing to handle?" Because that answer is more honest and more predictive. The subtle art of not giving a fuck is popular because it tells the truth people sense but rarely hear. A good life isn't built by avoiding discomfort. It's built by choosing discomfort on purpose. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your defense. Not every opportunity deserves your time. Give a fuck, just not about everything. And when you do care, care deeply. Care with values, care with responsibility. That's not apathy, that's freedom. This has been The Running Library. If you want the full book, it's linked below. Why pay for overpriced audiobook providers when you can listen here for free? Subscribe to @The Running Library for more full-length breakdowns.